Map labels can be added for any layers that appear in your layer control in SpatialXL. As a quick label option, you can simply right-click the layer you want to label and select Text Labels, and you can choose from the data columns that appear in your list. In our case, we'll choose the customer name as an example. And you'll see here that every customer is labeled with the name on the map. At this scale, you can see that the map is quite busy, so we can do changes to our label settings to ensure that the labels only appear when we zoom in on the map, and we can also make sure they sit only on one side of our point and change the font and text as well. To make these changes to our labels, we can right-click on the layer and select Layer Properties. To make any changes to our label settings, we can click on the Text tab here, and here we can make changes to basic settings as well as the label effects. We'll start by looking at the basic settings. Here you can change the column that you have labeled. We currently have our customer name, but you can change it here as well to another column. In the display from scale, we can change the settings and the scale at which the labels display. So we want to set our scale so that it is lower than 40,000 because the map is currently a bit busy. So we can make it, let's say, half of that, around 20,000. This means that when we zoom to our map, the labels will only display between the scale of 0 to 20,000. We can also change the positioning of our labels here, for example, at the top or bottom, right or left of our points. For this example, we'll make all of these values here 0 and make sure that our labels only display on the right of our points. We can also prioritize the labels to firstly display at the top right by making these numbers lower. We can make that a 2 and then bottom right a 1. This means that the labels will sit at the top right first, then middle right, and then bottom right, where there is an issue with space. Right, before we click on our Effects tab, we can check these settings by clicking OK. And you'll see because we're at a scale of 38,000, the labels have disappeared from our map. But as we zoom in and we go below a scale of 20,000, the labels will now appear on our map. And you can see the labels are also sitting off to the right of the points. To make any changes to how your labels appear on the map, we can go back to our layer properties, and on the text tab we can now click on the effects. Here we can make any changes to how our labels display, and we'll get a sample here of how the font appears. So firstly we can click on the font and color tab, and here we have a standard font box where we can change the font type, the style, size of our labels, as well as the color here. In the default background color drop-down, we can choose a background color for our labels, and we can make this larger or smaller by clicking on the padding arrows. We can also give this background color a border, and we could change the color of the border here as well. We can also give our labels a halo width, which makes them stand out more on the map. And the color of this can also be changed here. For our example, we'll take off the background color and the border. We'll make our font bold and make the font size slightly smaller as we have quite a number of labels on our map. And we'll give our labels a halo to make them stand out more. When you're done with your settings, you can click OK. And you'll see that your labels will update on the map. The label settings will always save to the current theme that you have displaying. So at the moment, our labels will save under the default theme. If we choose another theme, for example, Root Day, we can set up a different label styling for this theme. If we go into our Layer Properties box and click on the Text tab, we can now choose to label Root Day for the Root Day theme. If we click on the Effects tab, we'll now choose to use the theme background color, and this will assign the colors that we have in our theme value to our labels as well. We'll leave all the default settings for now and just click OK. And you'll see now that the label values have been assigned the same color category as the theme values. And if we now had to change our theme back to the default theme, you'll see that the labels will update to display the settings we had set for the default theme.